Hi, my name is Ivan García-Mijares. I'm a grad student at Wichita State University in the Spanish Literature program, and I'm here today to talk about a need within my community. Now more than ever, Latino patients need healthcare administrators to really invest and provide into trained personnel for Spanish-speaking monolingual patients at healthcare facilities. Growing up, I was often the one that had to help my parents with their interpretation needs, and I really wish that I wasn't that person to have to convey all of their healthcare concerns. I really do believe that I would have liked a third party involved, a third person involved, so that the initial shock, the initial harshness of the message wasn't transferred from me to them. Many of the Latinos in our community have shared experiences, and today I'm going to talk about one of the many times that I've had to interpret for a family member and how it was one of the worst days of my life. My mother and I, we were on a routine checkup for her with her nephrologist. And weeks prior to that, I was starting to notice a decline in her health. I started noticing new symptoms that she hadn't had before. And so going into this routine checkup, it was very alarming and I was very apprehensive going into this, and I know that she felt the same way. Once we were there, we saw the doctor and we saw that he was just looking down towards the floor. And after we sat down, he had told us that we needed to have a serious talk, a serious plan for what's to come. As soon as he said, for what's to come, I knew that I wanted a third person involved. I knew that I wanted another interpreter in the situation, because I knew that this was going to be a very heavy topic to talk about, and I knew that this would not only affect me, but also affect my mother. I knew that we needed an interpreter, but I know that I wasn't able to ask for one because I've never seen an interpreter in that situation or in his clinic. And why I didn't see one, I don't know. I don't know why he never had any type of interpreters present. I don't know why I didn't ask for one. I guess I just really didn't want to be a hindrance to him or the clinic, I guess. Once we were running through the process of the interpretation and everything that he was talking about, I couldn't help my mind go like out of 100 miles an hour. I started thinking about memories. I started thinking about my mom, that I was possibly going to lose her, all the times that we have spent together. And I couldn't help but feel a sadness within me, but I knew that in that moment I still had to be a professional and I couldn't express my emotions in the moment. The urge to cry was growing within me, but I knew again that I needed to maintain my professionalism in that situation. I knew that after looking at my mom and telling her everything that the doctor was saying, that she was hurting. And not only for her health concerns, but she knew that I was hurting as well. And in that situation, I couldn't help but think, what is to happen? What is to happen next? The situation for both of us was very emotionally draining, and I know that my mom would have preferred me to not have been the one to interpret this message for her. After we were done talking about her treatments and her kidney and everything that has to go within this process, we got very somber in our expressions. And it wasn't until that we left the clinic, walking to the car, that it dawned on us what just happened. 5 minutes into driving, my mother and I bursted out crying because we couldn't handle the situation in the moment. The heaviness of the situation dawned on us, and it was very, very hard. In 2013, 25.1 million individuals were considered to be LEP, meaning limited English proficiency. Of that number, a lot of them needed to have interpreters for themselves or needed to have interpreters provided from healthcare facilities. Unfortunately, many of them were not able to get interpreters through the healthcare facilities, and so were obligated to have their family or friends do this kind of interpretation needs, untrained, of course. Because of the lack of medically trained interpreters and of the usage of family and friends, oftentimes the interpretations have many errors. And because of those errors can lead to potentially clinical consequences. The coalition Alce Su Voz came to be after Latino students started sharing their experiences as interpreters for their family members. They started to share things about them as kids, having to interpret, possibly having to leave job or having to leave school for an interpretation for their parents. And they noticed that the lack of medical interpreters was a hindrance not only for their parents, but for them as well. Today, I'm here to ask you, the healthcare administrators, to really invest and to really provide into interpreters for monolingual Spanish speakers patients. Not only because there's a need for it, but because the emotional connection that family members and friends have can be a conflict of interest. And in that conflict of interest, there can be consequences due to poor interpretation, not only for the patients, but for the family members.